He always had this strange talent for hiding, not with his body, with his soul. He knew how to smile at the right moment, avert his gaze with pinpoint precision, change the subject as if changing clothes. And even when everything inside him was burning, you saw no smoke at all. It was as if he was born for this, to live on the outside but never on the inside. Did you notice, maybe only over time? Because at first he was charming, thoughtful, solid, present, but there was silence behind every word, a weariness in his eyes, a pause between one gesture and another, like someone who is always a second away from fleeing. It wasn't coldness, it wasn't a lack of feeling, it was excess of feeling. But in a world that never let him feel, at a time when every emotion of his was treated as weakness, from a young age they told him to be quiet, swallow it, pretend, be strong, and strength for him became synonymous with absence. Absence of tears, absence of confession, absence of desire, until you arrived. And you did something simple, so simple. But it was there that everything fell apart. One gesture, one touch, one look. You didn't say anything, you didn't ask for anything. You just stayed. And that presence, that permanence, was the only thing he never knew how to handle. Because he always prepared for war, never for someone who wouldn't leave. And when he tried to smile, you felt the pain. When he averted his gaze, you called him by name. When he changed the subject, you didn't let it slip away. And it was in that moment that everything he had kept inside came to the surface. Not because you invaded, but because he could no longer hide. You broke the disguise, without violence, without pressure, without technique, just with your presence. And in that instant, he was no longer the armored man everyone knew. He was just a weary boy, wanting to be seen. Have you ever been through this? Have you ever noticed someone crumbling just with a glance? Comment, I noticed that too. But the story doesn't stop there. Because when someone is exposed, they have two options: to open up or to run away. And he ran away, as always, as he learned to do, as he was taught. But this time, something was different, because he couldn't shake you off anymore. He even tried. He repeated to himself that it was just a moment, that you didn't mean that much, that he was in control, but he wasn't. The memory of your gesture began to visit him at the most unlikely moments. While he was brushing his teeth, while he was turning off the alarm clock, while he was looking at his phone and thinking about writing to you, but didn't. It was as if you had turned on a light in a dark room that he had spent his whole life avoiding to open. And now, even with his eyes closed, he could see his pain, his loneliness, the fear of being rejected if he revealed too much. And the worst part, he realized that everything he hid wasn't just from others. It was from himself. He was afraid to feel, because if he felt, he wouldn't know how to handle it. If he handled it, he wouldn't know how to express it. If he expressed it, maybe no one would understand. But you understood, with that gesture. Simple, direct, real. You didn't explain. You didn't demand. You didn't try to change him. You just stayed. And that's when he realized no one had ever stayed. Not when he was a child. Not when he cried hidden in his room. Not when he was afraid of losing everything and had to pretend to be brave. Not when they told him to be strong, without ever asking if he was okay. You were the first yes in his life, and he didn't know what to do with that. That's why he ran away. That's why he shut down. That's why he became distant, cold, and logical. But none of that was true. The truth is that he was trying to figure out if he deserved to be seen, and when we try to figure that out, we sabotage ourselves. He pushed you away to see if you would come back. He built barriers to see if you would persist. He put on masks to see if you would still recognize him, because deep down he wanted an answer that no one ever gave. I see you even when you try to hide. And that's what you did. That's what broke him. That's what saved him. But saving someone is not the end. It's just the beginning. Because now he needs to do what he's never done. Go back. Go back inside himself. Go back to the truth. Go back to the source of the pain. And maybe he's doing this in silence, without telling you, not knowing how. But that gesture of yours never left him. He tried to ignore it. But the memory of your touch lingered. The warmth of your gaze remained. The peace of your presence stayed. And now, he's starting to change. Not out of pressure, not from the fear of losing you, but because for the first time he wants to stay. And for someone who has always run away, the desire to remain is a revolution, and he doesn't know if he can manage it, but he knows he wants to try, because there, in that gesture, he felt that he could be loved without having to hide anything. Not the pain, not the past, not the silence, just being. If this text resonates with you in some way, comment with one word that describes what you're feeling right now. Just one. But there's one detail that nobody sees, and that you may have felt. He still sabotages himself, still lies to himself sometimes, still has relapses, still says, "I'm fine," even when he's not. And that can be frustrating. It can be exhausting. It can hurt, but it doesn't mean he didn't feel. It means he's relearning. And relearning is a painful process, because each new truth that comes in needs to displace an old lie. And he believed for a long time that he didn't deserve to be loved. Do you see the depth of that? He doesn't think he doesn't want love. He thinks that love doesn't fit in him, as if it were something he can see in others, but never feel fully himself. And you, with a gesture, changed that equation, made him realize that the impossible could happen. He made him believe that maybe there was room for him in affection. He made him doubt his own loneliness, and when someone doubts loneliness, a new world begins to emerge. Slow, confusing, full of setbacks, but real. And now, he begins to build something within. It doesn't have a name yet. It doesn't have a shape, but it is perceptible. It's like a breeze after the storm, like a subtle scent in a place that was once filled only with absence, like the echo of his gesture, reverberating in everything he does. Have you ever been the gesture someone needed? Have you seen that in someone's eyes? Tell me in the comments. He doesn't know yet, but every time he thinks of you, his body responds. His chest tightens. His breath changes. The silence fills with a presence he can no longer deny, and maybe you don't realize how rare that is, because for him, feeling is always a risk. Showing is always a threat. Trusting is always synonymous with pain, but still you stayed, and that messed up all his defenses. He tried to label it, called it friendship, called it distraction, even called it coincidence, but no word could capture it, because what was born has no name, and maybe it never needs one. What matters is what happens within him when he remembers that moment, that gesture that broke down the walls, that gaze that crossed the desert, that calm that disarmed the war. And no matter how much he runs, his body already knows. It already recognizes. It already desires. It's as if there's an invisible thread, sewn deep within his soul, always pulling him back to the memory of you. A thread that doesn't break, that doesn't quiet down, that doesn't tire. And this thread starts to transform into something bigger. It begins to call, it begins to ask for space. Because love, when it's true, doesn't impose itself, but it also doesn't remain silent forever. It waits. It insists in silence. It seeps into the small cracks until it becomes noticeable in everything. And that's what happened. The gesture was small, but the reverberation is immense. Now, even what he didn't say is starting to find words. Even what he hid is beginning to seek an exit. Even what he suffocated is starting to breathe. Have you ever noticed this in someone? That moment when the eyes say what the mouth can't? If you've experienced it, right here, I noticed it too. But there's something even deeper. He is not just in front of you, he is in front of himself. And this encounter is the most painful of all. Because it's not easy to look at oneself without masks. It's not easy to admit fear. It's not easy to confess how much it still hurts, but it is on this path that true transformation is born, not in perfection, not in control, but in the space where he finally realizes he no longer needs to hide. And you were the portal. The gesture was the key. The moment was the beginning. Now everything inside him demands continuation. He might even resist. He might even deny. He might even sabotage himself again. But he can no longer erase what he felt. And deep down, he knows he doesn't want to erase it, because for the first time in his life, he perceives himself as alive. He tries to pretend nothing has changed, that everything is the same, that the gesture was just a detail. But you've already noticed it wasn't. What he feels now is like an echo that won't fade. Even when he is silent, his body speaks. Even when he runs away, his heart insists. Even when he hardens, his eyes betray him. And it is at this point that the contradiction is born, because at the same time that he fears what he feels, he also desires. At the same time that he wants to hide, he also wants to be found. At the same time that he builds walls, he leaves a crack open. He didn't tell you this. He might never say it. But deep down, he hopes you notice. That you see what he doesn't have the courage to confess. That you understand what he can't put into words. This is the paradox of his soul. The fear of being rejected is so great that sometimes he rejects himself first. But the thirst to be loved is so profound that no rejection can silence it. And between these two forces, he walks. He stumbles. It contradicts itself. It gets lost. But it always comes back. It always comes back. Have you ever felt this? Have you ever lived this cycle of pushing away and wanting at the same time? If so, write, "I know how it is." And when he remembers your gesture, something curious happens. It's not just memory. It's presence. It's as if, in that moment, he is still right in front of you. Time passes, but the scene stays intact, as if it were kept in another place, outside of clocks and hours. First secret place where the truth cannot be erased. This place is dangerous for him, because there he cannot pretend, he cannot disguise, he cannot use his usual defenses. There, he meets his own vulnerability, and he realizes something he has always avoided. Vulnerability is not weakness, it's strength, it's root, it's what connects. But admitting this takes courage, and courage for him has never been the absence of fear. It has been learning to stay even while shaking inside. And maybe that's why he self-sabotages so much, because every time he feels he's about to open up, the old voice comes in saying, "Be careful, you'll get hurt. No one will understand." These voices are not from now. They are old echoes. They are wounds that speak loudly. They are memories that shaped his heart. But your gesture was louder than those voices, stronger than those memories, more real than those fears. And since then, he can no longer live as he did before. It's strange, but liberating. Strange because he doesn't know if he's ready. Liberating because even without being ready, he wants to try. And wanting to try is already a miracle, because for a long time, he didn't even want to. He preferred the shield. He preferred solitude. He preferred the mask. But now, something has opened up. Something that will not return to its initial state. And this is where you come in again. Not as a savior, not as a heroine, but as a witness. Because what heals someone is not the pressure to change, it's the certainty of being seen, even in imperfection. It's the realization that he doesn't have to earn the right to exist. It's the rest of finally being able to just be without having to justify yourself. And that's what you brought. Not a solution, but a place, a safe space. A silent yes that crosses all doubts. This space is rare, it's sacred. It's almost impossible to find. And that's why it clings to the memory, not out of dependency, but because deep down, it knows it was real. And when something real happens, there's no unseeing it, there's no undoing it, there's no denying it. And maybe you're wondering, is it worth it? Is it worth waiting for someone who runs away? Is it worth trusting someone who still sabotages themselves? Is it worth holding the hand of someone who lets go so many times? These questions are fair, they're human, they're necessary. And the answer isn't simple. Because love isn't an equation of gains and losses. It's not a spreadsheet of risks. It's not a guarantee of return. Loving someone broken is always a risk, but it's also always a seed. And seeds don't sprout overnight. They require patience. They require silence. They require trust in the unseen. The unseen is where love is born. It's where perception deepens. It's where presence becomes stronger than absence. And it's in that unseen where its transformation is happening. You might not see it now. You may not receive declarations. You may not have clear gestures. But each time he remembers you, something inside him reorganizes. Each time he thinks of that moment, a piece of the old fear loses its grip. Each time he relives the scene, the idea that he doesn't deserve love starts to crumble. And even if it seems small, it's immense. Because the greatest revolution happens in silence. He still contradicts himself. He still hides. He still says, "I'm fine," when he's not. But now something has changed. Because even when he lies to himself, he doesn't fully believe it anymore. Even when he runs away, he knows he's running. Even when he goes quiet, he notices the absence of words. And noticing is the first step to healing. You have no idea the strength of that word. Understanding is like turning on a light. It doesn't change everything at once, but it keeps the darkness from being total. Understanding is admitting that there's something beyond the mask. It's recognizing that the heart beats even when the body feigns strength. And you were the one who brought this. You were the mirror in which he could see himself. You were the presence that showed him it wasn't too late. You were the gesture that shattered the illusion that no one would stay. And no matter how much he tries to deny it, he knows, he feels, he can no longer hide. And when someone reaches that point, the path can no longer be the same. This conversation doesn't end here. In the next video, I'm going to show you the side that almost no one has the courage to look at.